Hello, this is Captain Jim from the Monopoly Project. We're here on Val Vista Lakes to do our floating book reviews for books we read in February. We're on the Monopoly Project yacht. Of course, every successful real estate investor has a yacht, and this is the Monopoly Project yacht. Unfortunately, it's the Bikini Girls' day off, so you just have me. But we're cruising on Val Vista Lakes. The weather is improved here. You can see I'm not wearing a sweatshirt or anything like that. It was cold and rainy for a while, but now we're back to good weather in Phoenix. So we got 3 books for you, all on different subjects. One a naval fiction that we've read before. The other is a collection of short stories from a hard science fiction series. And the last one is the account of how an American submarine sunk a Japanese supercarrier during the end of World War II. So anyway, we'll get our first book out and we'll be right back. Okay, just as Jim from the Monopoly Project, we're doing our floating book reviews for February 2023, books we read in the last month. It's March now, we're on Val Vista Lakes, the weather's turned nice again, it's not cold, certainly not by Phoenix standards. And so we're on to our next book in the review, and you can see it's Memories Legion, which is shown as written by James A. Corey, but apparently that's actually a pen name of 2 people, Daniel Abraham and Ty Frank. And so Corey's actually 2 people. And why am I reading this book? I'm a fan of hard science fiction, like, especially Niven and Purnell. The Ring World is the classic. Asimov, on the Foundation series. Dune, Frank Herbert. Frank Herbert was the author of Dune, and his son carried on and wrote a lot. So I'm a big fan of science fiction, of hard science fiction. So I was in the bookstore, I don't know, it was months ago, and I found this book and another one, and this book said it's a hard science fiction book, so I bought it. And it turns out that this is actually short stories in a fictional universe called The Expanse, which consists of a bunch of novels, at least 6 and maybe 8. And it's also now a 6-season TV series. The first 3 were on the Sci-Fi Channel. Then they dropped it. Amazon picked it up and did 3 more. It might still be in production, I don't know. But anyway, it's set in a future world where Earth, Mars, and the asteroid belt are populated, but they're competing against each other, both economically, politically, even to the extent that they're at war with each other. So it turns out these are short stories. It's not a novel. These are short stories which are meant to fill in the backstory of characters or events in the book. So basically I came in the middle of it, and so it helps a lot if you know the Expanse story, which I don't. Let's start off. I started off with, there's a bunch of short stories. I think there's 8 or 10. I'll admit I only read 3 of them, and then I put the book down for reasons you'll understand at the end. But the first story is called The Butcher of Anderson Station. And my initial reaction was, this isn't science fiction. There was nothing in it that was science fiction-y. It could have been set in any time, in any geographic place, whether real or fictional. But it tells the backstory of one of the characters and how he is rightfully accused of war crimes because his side tricked him into committing war crimes, and he gets captured by the people he did it to, and there's sort of a reconciliation, but so I was hesitant to go on. But the second short story was called Drive, and this is hard science fiction, and this basically gives the backstory of how the guy who invented the faster than light drive that powers the whole Expanse universe, how he did it and what his personal story was. And it was actually really good storytelling, independent. It was hard science fiction. They make up some pseudoscience to explain how you can go faster than light, but tell personal characteristics. Then the third one I kept reading was The Vital Abyss, and this one is a real story. My boat's doing funny things again, and you probably hard to see me because I'm backlit, so I'm going to spin around here. but the vital abyss, abyss is in a hole or whatever, is where's my notes? Is really interesting story. It's about some prisoners who get captured by the Martians, and the Martians, they're either Earth, they're not Martian. No, I'm sorry. They are prisoners who are captured because they're working in the asteroid belt. They're captured by the Martians because the Martians are fighting the Earthlings, and the Martians turn them against each other, where they're competing not to be saved and not be saved, and it's sort of an intricate plot. But I wanted to. The story itself was great, and I can let me quote some comments about it. Here's the vital abyss, and you can see that. And they use a lot of words that aren't typically used, like example Runnels, and I guess here's the summary. We were a community of 37 people living under the eyes of cold and unsympathetic jailers. They were a research team who was researching various things, and so one of the reasons why I actually did read this is the main character is named Cortazar, which is my new son-in-law, and now my third daughter's last name is Cortazar. So that's one of the reasons I kept reading it. And he has they have a lot of interesting I don't know, dialogue or stories in here, like there was always an electricity in the unknown, a sense of impending revelation, like the last moments before orgasm. And so they do a lot of that kind of stuff, and like God had sent an angel to deliver me and whisper the secrets that had been hidden from me so long into my ear. So like I said, it's kind of, and he uses the word limn, Limn, so anyways, he tells, actually in a good part, I'm out of control here. He tells the story, his backstory about how his mother died, and it took her 3 more years to die, and so on and so forth. So anyway, like I said, it's way beyond a science fiction, level writing, and apparently, I guess one of the authors studied philosophy in college, and so they're talking about philosophy and what is the meaning. And then again, like I said, I went on to I'm gonna lose my notes here. You can see stuff like he says, I was seeing a stabilizing network that could bring subquantum effects up to a classical scale. And so all these kind of pseudoscience things, which are really well done. So I finally stopped taking notes or highlighting stuff because there was just so much of this. It was good, so anyway, you can see the author's notes at the end, and he explains how they titled it The Vital Abyss because at that point before they were famous and could dictate their terms, the publishers or whoever editors told them they couldn't title it what did they want to title it? They wanted to title it Necessary Abyss, and they quote the TV show Will and Grace, which I'm not quite sure has it in there, but that's how they do. But anyway, they go into philosophy, and it's a very Nietzschean place to be. And so the abyss, it's also the abyss where there can be no moral choice, the abyss of grace, the necessary abyss. And then they go on to quote E.E. Cummings and the enormous room and how he's a political prisoner in World War I. So let me go back to my notes here. I did watch the TV series. I watched season 1, episode 1, so the very first one, and it was an interesting story. It was sort of a detective story where the guy goes looking for a rich heiress who goes lost and it turns out, of course, she didn't get. It's sort of an involved plot. She didn't actually get kidnapped. It's all sort of a big plot and everything. It was interesting, but it's hard to immediately get into. In fact, one of the good comments, the review comments in the Amazon website said that, well, it really takes 2 seasons to get into it. So if I was 20 years younger, I might dip my foot into this universe and go into it in more detail, but at this point it's just too much. So that's why it's basically stopped reading. I read, like I said, 3 short stories of the 8 or 10, and it is interesting, but a little too time consuming for me at my stage in life. So anyway, if you are science fiction, and especially if you like a philosophical bent, there seems to be a lot of it, at least in some of these stories. In any case, this is Jim from the Monopoly Project, and we will do one more book review and then we'll get back to you.